The beast recognized another predator in the human's gaze, leaving the alien girl speechless. Snow hissed as the wind curled around the shattered spires of the outpost. A low, guttural roar rippled through the valley, so deep it vibrated in bone marrow. Lyra's clawed fingers tightened on her spear, her gill slits fluttering nervously against the cold. She had grown up hearing stories about the Koroth beast, a predator of predators, born from the same frozen caverns her ancestors once fled. The elders said it was unkillable, untamable, a reminder that not all things in the galaxy were meant to bend to sentient will. Now one stood before her. Its massive head swayed side to side, amber eyes glinting like shards of molten stone. Each breath it exhaled steamed thickly, coating the broken ground in frost. And beside her, standing where no sane person should, was the human. Elias didn't even raise his weapon. He just watched.
Calm.
Almost curious. The Korotha's growl deepened. It should have pounced, yet it paused. Muscles bunched beneath its striped hide, claws gouging ice, but it didn't attack. Instead, it lowered its head slightly, nostrils flaring as though scenting something familiar. Its gaze locked on the humans, and for the first time in Lyra's life, she saw the beast hesitate. It recognized something dangerous. And in that moment, she realized Elias was not like the rest of her people's off-world guests. "Move," Lyra hissed, tugging at his sleeve. Her voice broke the stillness. "It will shred you apart." "Wait," Elias murmured, not looking away. His eyes were steady, dark as storm water. "It's testing me." "Testing you? That thing doesn't test, it eats." Her gill frills flushed pale with fear. But Elias stood unflinching, his shoulders squared, his breathing slow. Lyra could feel the tension in the air, like two storms staring each other down. The Korotha's lips peeled back, revealing tusk-like fangs slick with saliva. Then, instead of lunging, it growled once, a deep, resonant sound, and backed a single step. Lyra froze. Her spear trembled in her hand. Beasts didn't retreat. Never. "What did you do?" she whispered. Elias's mouth curved in the faintest smile. "Nothing. I just looked back." The trek back to their shelter was a blur. The beast had turned, lumbering into the fog, leaving its claw marks burning in Lyra's memory. She followed Elias silently, heart hammering, every instinct screaming that this wasn't normal. When they finally reached the half-collapsed research dome, she rounded on him. "You should be dead," she spat, voice rising with panic. "Do you know what that thing was? Even our war bands won't face it without 20 hunters armed with plasma nets." Elias peeled off his frost-slick gloves, flexing scarred knuckles. "And yet it walked away." Lyra stared at him. She couldn't deny it. But the way he had looked at the Koroth, calm, predatory, unyielding, it unsettled her more than the beast itself. "You're not afraid," she said slowly. He glanced at her, eyes unreadable. "Fear keeps you alive, but it doesn't keep you standing." Her throat tightened. The elders always said predators knew their own kind by the eyes. She had thought it was just folklore. But when Elias had locked gazes with the Koroth, it had been as if two mirrors of hunger and violence were staring into each other. And the beast had recognized it. That night, the storm screamed outside the dome. The generator sputtered, throwing faint light over Elias as he checked his rifle. Lyra pretended to sleep, but her eyes kept drifting to him. He bore scars that didn't look like any soldiers she knew. Not clean laser burns or shrapnel lines, but jagged slashes, bites, half-healed fractures that spoke of close combat with things that shouldn't be fought up close. When she finally broke the silence, her voice was hushed. "Where did you learn to stare down a Koroth?" Elias didn't look up from his rifle. "Different world." Different monster. Same rules. She pressed. What monster? He set the weapon aside, leaned back, and for a heartbeat his gaze softened. We called them bone wolves.
Packs of them.
Big as men. Smarter than most, too.
If you ran, they chased.
If you screamed, they circled. The only way to survive was to make them think you were more dangerous than they were. Lyra swallowed. And were you? His lips quirked, half bitter, half proud. I had to be. Days passed. The storm eased, revealing a broken landscape of ridges and frozen lakes. Supplies were low, and they had to hunt. It was during one of these hunts that the Karath returned. Lyra spotted it first, a dark shape across the ice, stalking silently. She raised her spear, panic rising again, but Elias touched her arm. Not yet, he murmured. The beast prowled closer, its amber eyes flicking between them. Then, shockingly, it circled, not attacking but shadowing, as though curious. Why doesn't it strike? Lyra whispered. Elias's gaze was steady. Because it already decided. I'm not prey. She turned to him, speechless. Her kind had battled these beasts for generations, and here was a single human who had shifted the rules with nothing but his stare. And yet, part of her shivered not at the beast, but at Elias himself. For in that moment she saw clearly. The Karath had recognized him as kin. Predator to predator. That night, by the fire's glow, she found herself studying him differently. You frighten me, she admitted softly. He arched a brow. More than the beast. Yes. Her claws traced idle patterns in the frost between them. Because at least with the beast, I understand. Hunger, territory, instinct. But you carry that same fire in your eyes, and yet you hold it back. I don't know why. Or for how long. Elias was silent for a moment. Then he leaned forward, his gaze locking onto hers, the same gaze that had frozen the Karath. Only now it was turned on her. Maybe, he said quietly, because I finally found something worth holding it back for. Her breath caught. The fire cracked. For once, she had no words. The Karath lingered near their camp in the following days. It never attacked, but its presence was constant, like a shadow, like a sentinel. Sometimes, when Elias stepped outside, it would appear at the treeline, its head low, eyes locked on him in silent acknowledgement. The girl inside Lyra wanted to run. The hunter in her wanted to strike first. But another part, one she didn't have a name for, began to wonder. Perhaps the galaxy was stranger than the elders had ever said. Perhaps predators could respect each other without bloodshed. Perhaps even a beast could recognize when another predator had chosen not to kill. And perhaps she, too, could learn to trust that choice. The day the rescue ships arrived, the Karath appeared one final time. As the shuttles descended, engines thundering across the valley, the beast stood atop a ridge, its amber gaze fixed solely on Elias. Elias didn't move. Neither did it. For a heartbeat, the world held its breath. Then the Karath roared, not a challenge, but something deeper. Recognition. Farewell. And it turned, vanishing into the snowstorm. Lyra stood beside him, trembling. She had seen a legend rewritten before her eyes. She looked at Elias, her voice barely a whisper. It knew, she said. It knew you were one of its own. Elias exhaled, eyes still fixed on the ridge. No. It knew I could be, but I chose not to.